Welcome back to Our Canada, Our Future. We're talking eco-colonialism today with Chris Sankey, Senior Fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Chris, I wanted to play devil's advocate with you a little bit here. You know, there are a lot of critics who argue that resource development actually isn't in the interest of Indigenous Canadians. So what do you say to those people?
Well, first of all, they don't live in these remote communities where they don't have sole source revenues, even proper infrastructure to function as a day-to-day operation as a community should. Without natural resources taking place in this country, we just won't be able to have the sustainable development future that everybody strives to have. When we take a look at what's happening, all of the natural resources happen in our backyard. And it's important to note that if these resources are going to be extracted in our backyard, Indigenous people should have a seat, a say, and decision-making powers and having ownership to move forward. So, look, we've taken care of the environment since time immemorial, and we'll continue to take care of the environment as the years come by. But at the end of the day, natural resources have been in our backyard forever, and we know how to manage it. And it's an opportunity for us to be in the boardroom to make those decisions.
Yeah, good point. And I suppose it's a lot easier to be against development when you're sitting in a nice house in Los Angeles, right? Rather than living in a more remote community. Chris, obviously you're part of a generation of new sort of younger voices in the Indigenous community. Why don't you think that up until this point, Canadians have heard a lot from pro-development Indigenous voices? I think for a long time, there were a lot of people that sort of assumed that the entire Indigenous community was against development. But as you say, there are a lot of pro-development voices. So, what's taken so long, and do you see this trend continuing to change?
Well, I mean, I'm just as frustrated as the next person as to why mainstream media doesn't focus on the good. I don't know why. Maybe they just don't think it's sexy enough with today's narrative. And today's narrative is green. Everything's green. If you take a look at the commercials, you take a look at segments on mainstream media, either A, it's about the environment, or B, it's about Indigenous people against resource development. And that is simply not true. The vast majority of us want responsible resource development. That would be a way better story for mainstream media to pick up on, is the fact that we are not only going to help get away from managing poverty, we're going to start managing wealth. We're going to start to be a part of the Canadians' economic engine. We're going to start to extract and be responsible on how we move and get our resources to market. I mean, that's just a better story. And for some reason, mainstream media just does not want to pick up on it. And somehow they've been, the reality is they've been speaking with individuals in the cities that claim that we are all against resource development, which is not true. You take a look at some of the organizations in the city, like UBCIC, they've been very vocal about oil and gas when they have no concept, or even they've been out of touch with reality of what Indigenous communities want. I mean, for an Indigenous organization to continue to come out and attack a resource that's going to help break the poverty cycle, it's just crazy. They need to stop doing that. And they need to stop talking for all of us. And I have no problem addressing the issue. We need to be able to sit down across from one another and have responsible discussions about how best we're going to grow this economy. But the mainstream media needs to get away from this nonsense that somehow we're all against responsible resource development. What's frustrating to me is that if you take a look at the Haisla, you take a look at the Nisga'a, and even the Sipshean, of all the opportunities that are in front of them, including the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh and those communities in the south, all these projects continue to move forward. I mean, how could you say that Indigenous communities are against responsible resource development in the oil and gas sector when these very projects like Cedar in Kitimat, like wood fiber in the Squamish territory, and like Kay Elizabeth's government and with their LNG, and then the port-related development opportunities, both north and south. How could you say we're against responsible resource development or development in general when all of this activity continues to happen? The governments are engaged with us. They never come out publicly and say that they're in support of oil and gas, but somehow in the media, they continue to say they're against the reduction of emissions. But yet we're the ones working with environmental groups that are there for the right reasons. We're the ones that are working with biologists and those that are in the business of reducing emissions. And we're the ones engaging on how best we could move forward in this transition within the oil and gas sector. It's not these individuals that are living in the city. And I mean, we're the ones doing this. We're doing the heavy lifting. And in the end, everyone's going to benefit.
Yeah, really good and passionate points, Chris. We're going to take a short break and be right back.